Engineer is Engie here. That's something what I like to say when I'm playing him. I have been an engineer main ever since 2021, and he's in my opinion the most fun class in the game. He has the most diverse set of gameplay out of all classes and is most of the time never static, always changing depending on the situation of the game. I have wanted to make this video to just show you all why Engineer is so much fun and hope you can enjoy him too. But first off, let me tell you how I started maining Engie, because I used to be a scout main. Crazy, right? It's almost like the hat I use for my characters from Fast Boss Tuning himself. So back in 2017 and 2020, when TF2 got its last major update, I used to play a lot of scout. I really enjoyed his mobility and high damage, but over time I used to get really bored playing. It was almost like Scout has an issue with his weapons that he has only like 2 weapons per slot for using. I never had good aim, I beefed so much that it's kind of embarrassing. I always hated going behind enemy lines because I didn't want to die so early, but that's basically a scout's job. Plus I really hated my time with soldiers, because scout has one of the lowest HPs in the game, so you know if you end in a tight corridor, you're sure as dead. So after taking a break from TF2 and just not wanting to play him, I really started to enjoy watching Dane. His tutorials and tips were really fun to watch, and I got the old itch back from the day when I used to play Engineer a lot. I also really like him as a character because he's a soft-spoken Texas who likes to build stuff, and I tend to really like characters who are also mechanics as builders. So I started to play with him. I first off had to learn some new game sense, because being slower than Scout and having to place your buildings in smart positions was harder than I thought. First thing I really enjoyed with him was that I could take things slower. I didn't need to go to front lines to get myself killed, I could upgrade my stuff while waiting for the enemy to come to me. I also really got addicted to the idea of just being more of a team player. I loved that I could kill people while also providing my team with plenty of support from dispensers and teleports. Believe it or not, I actually love dispensers so much, it's almost like my own child, and I just get so upset when someone decides to target this innocent baby who just wants to help my team. And whenever someone takes down my dispenser, I always make sure that they never leave unpunished. Take that, you monster! Don't worry, daddy will push you up again. I really enjoy being able to protect my team with my sentry gun because number 1, I get kills with it so it feeds into my kill-death ratio ego. Number 2, it helps my teammates defend the objective longer, which in return means I will stay alive longer. Teleporters are really important abilities that I usually find more annoying to upgrade, because for some reason, especially on Harvest, everyone just targets these more than dispenser or sentries. So having to go all the way back to spawn to just build them back up can get a bit annoying, because I clearly see some enemies not even bothering to help their teammates and just want to troll me. But I always try to get them fast to level 3 so my teammates can continue the pressure after respawning, because this is especially important on maps like Badwater, where the spawn is far away from the front line and you want your teammates to get there fast enough. But what if there was a loadout which would help me to keep my stuff up? Yeah, this is a transition where I talk about Engineer weapons. Engineer has the most usable weapons out of all 9 classes. The best aspect of Engineer is that his loadout isn't static, it always changes. And this helps keep the gameplay fresh, because you don't get too comfortable with your current loadout and makes you use other weapons, like compared to Soldier, where you go with stock, maybe switch around 2 banners or go with gunboats, and you just use escape plan. As you can see, there's rarely any switching, because for most classes you barely need to change up your playstyle. But with Engineer you always change them up. In defense you might go with Rescue Ranger, Wrangler and Eureka. But after getting your nest destroyed you switch to the Jack and maybe to the Shotgun, because there's always that one spy harassing you. Perhaps soldiers and demo man are spamming way too much, so you decide to whip out the short circuit to delete that shit. As you can see, this is just a small example of dynamic his gameplay is. I haven't even mentioned his shotgun selection, which is actually very beautiful. Stock shotgun is nothing too flashy, but very consistent. Frontier Justice rewards you with crits in exchange for having less ammo. The panic attack might as well be his best shotgun, because you're telling me I can deal 108 damage and don't have to deal with random bullet spread? Count me in! Widowmaker makes you return to Monkey and Priotos per carnage. Yes, if you actually don't beef your shots, you will never have to worry about reloading like you're playing Doom. Rescue Ranger isn't technically a shotgun, but I just got to mention it too, because it's so darn useful to heal your buildings from a safe distance and yank it away from bad situations. And Pumps on 6000? It's best that we don't talk about that. But I also have to mention that maining engineer can get pretty expensive. I have this weird obsession with strength weapons, so I obviously had to get most engineer weapons as strength variant. And this especially gets expensive when you want to add kill streaks to them. And then you realize you gotta get the PDA, which costs like 100 euros. And then cry in agony because there's no way I'm paying 300 euros for a strange gunslinger. Quick side detour, I started the TF2 miniseries where I discuss my favorite weapon for each class, but looking how well they perform, I will just quickly talk about my favorite NG weapon and cancel the rest of the episodes. It's a Jag. You see it in my artworks most of the time, it's used the best friends overall in defense and attack, and without it, engineer will be as fun to play. Its stats really complement my playstyle of being more of an aggressive engineer who wants to build his stuff faster when they eventually get overrun. So back to the weapon talk. Engineer's weapon selection isn't perfect. Like Shotgun Hospitality is pretty pointless and Thompson 6000 is his worst gun. And do I even need to explain why the Wrangler is stupidly broken? But he has probably the most balanced weapon selection and because of it, he's always fun. But what if you're not playing on defense? Say hello to my little friend! Believe it or not, with one weapon switch, Engineer goes from a defense class that provides support to actually a really dangerous threat that should be taken seriously. People usually underestimate you just because you're slower than Scout, but little did they realize that an engineer can cause some serious damage. Usually people are like, oh, a shotgun, that won't do shit, but then BAM! Boom! Pow! You're dead. I finally found the reason why beef so many shots with Scout. His fast movement speed melted my brain, so it caused me to miss so many of my shots, but once I switched to Engineer, I started to land so many shots. Battle NC is really fun. You go from nurturing your babies and supporting your teammates to everyone's solid lead! I don't have time to upgrade my buildings, I gotta get some frags! Engineer is actually one of the best classes to carry a game, and it's all thanks to this one little thing, Mini Sentry. I know, right? Just even say its name makes everyone shake in their boots with fear and frustration. You can so easily spam this that the enemy team has to frantically check every corner to see if there's a small beast waiting to ruin their day. And guess what? Usually I am near my sentry, so the enemy team has to decide if they want to shoot the shotgun guy or the actual spawn of Satan first. And what is the perfect complement to an aggressive battle engineer's arsenal is his trusty old pistol. This gun is so good that I have been a fool to sleep on it for so long. I can start harassing the enemy team from mid-range and then save my shotgun when I'm close to them, making a perfect loadout. It's so good that I had to whip out my credit card and get the fancy reskin. Capper, a strength variant of course. Now I can disintegrate my enemies with this fancy laser pistol which I swear deals more damage. While we talk about spending too much money on this game, I want to share my cosmetics. I like to wear this winter themed engineer with Texas 10 gallon, which is my all-time favorite engineer hat with an appropriate unusual effect of blizzardly storm. And then specialize with lime paint for obvious reasons and insulated inventor because it's just a really cool cosmetic. And most of them are painted white because I just really appreciate the color white, it's pure and fits with the snow theme. Oh, and of course the Mist cosmetics are strengths too, because why not? I love those numbers, so might as well go for it. Trust me, you really don't need to spend this much money on a class, but you know what? I love playing engineer, so I want to look fancy while I play. But as much as I love engineering all over my enemies, there are always the counters. Why are there so many spies? I always be very paranoid about spy even play scout because I always know that sneaky Frenchman is hiding nearby. He's literally put into this earth to just make sure my nest isn't unaffected. Usually I have no trouble dealing with spies because frankly most of them are predictable, but for some reason most spies go with the kunai, which you know is absolute cancer to deal with once he gets one successful backstab, because it usually devolves into everyone, for the love of God, look behind you, there's a spy, he won't die, so please just turn around! But once you deal with that pesky bugger at the monster, you got to deal with soldiers again. I swear, I can never stay away from these guys because when they see a sentry, it's almost like they get offended by its existence and what it gone fast. Usually a little bit of short circuit is enough to put them to consider if they want to face both of our time. But Demo Man, he's slightly different. Sure, you can erase his stickies too, but it's ever so slightly harder to do because his grenades and stickies can always be shot over the ball. And when that happens, it's just pure dread. Like you can have my sentry, but please leave the dispenser alone! No, you bastard! No! Oh, it can't get any force.
Ghost! Ghost!
Oh, fuck. When an enemy medic has Uber, you gotta pray that his pocket gets too distracted by your Franklet sentry so you can get out of the way. But as much as I complain about the counters, without them Engineer will be as exciting because knowing full well without your sentry, your team will get overrun. And once you win a round with successful defense, you feel so good. But why don't I feel as good as I did earlier? As with every main, you eventually stop having the honeymoon pace and the class becomes more mundane. I have played Engineer for a year straight, barely playing different classes, so it's not surprising I started to feel this way. Does that mean I want to switch mains again? No! You just need to play other classes too. And for me, there is the perfect trio. Yes, after learning to love more team play with Engineer, I love playing classes with more team focus in mind. Heavy is my go-to pick when I just want to say fuck those soldiers and go mow enemies down. Before I usually went with Banana because I was a selfish heavy who would only want to heal himself. But now I run with Sandwich because I want to heal my teammates too. Then I started playing more Pyro because that score shot cunt ain't gonna set my teammates on fire and those pesky spies will stay away from my Engineer. What's that? Projectiles? I will know you them back! Then I learned to play Medic more, mainly with friends so I could have them healthy and have a reliable pocket too. The key word here being that having diversity helps you not burn out from playing Engineer. If you're not feeling like building stuff, just switch out to a different class and do different stuff. That way, once you return to play Engineer, you will again feel like a badass and you're ready to take the responsibility of kicking ass as the Texas guy. So if you're feeling burnt out from TF2 and you wish to have something unique and fun, you should play Engineer because with him, there are unlimited possibilities with your building placements and it feels ever so rewarding to take enemies down. Because what stands between your team and defeat is you. Did I also mention you can be a turtle?